Up next, I'd like to welcome leaders from Avasant's computer economics team. Frank and Dave, take it away.
Yeah, I'm Frank Scavo. This is Dave Wagner. We're from Avasant Research, and most of the data we're going to share with you today is from our computer economics group. Most of you should know Avasant acquired computer economics last year, and computer economics is now part of Avasant Research. And Dave and I came with that acquisition. So we're very happy to be part of the team here. Our metrics and data are now part of Avasant Research. We think it was a great acquisition, and most of the large, as you may know, most of the large consulting firms and really all of the major accounting firms use our metrics as part of their practice as well. They use our metrics around IT spending, IT staffing, technology trends, outsourcing, salaries, and so on. And some of you, in fact, are our clients as well. So thank you very much for that. So go ahead to the next slide. So it may seem like 2020 was a lost year, right? So it's traveling along. We hit March, pandemic came, and now we're just kind of looping back and continuing. But actually, if you look at the chart on the right, actually world GDP now is actually ahead of what it was at the start of the pandemic. So we've not only recovered all the lost ground, but we've actually made up for that. And in fact, as Anupam pointed out, there's just been a tremendous investment here, and these GDP estimates keep getting revised upward. Go ahead to the next slide. So this is an example of the kind of metrics that we keep at Computer Economics. We've been tracking, this is a very popular metric, IT spending as a percentage of revenue across all industry sectors. And you can see that the pandemic, just this number we just came out with from our survey this year, that now it's just been a little blip in a long-term trend toward IT spending increasing as part of organizational revenue. And the reason for that, as we all know, that IT is becoming more and more embedded in the business. The footprint of IT is growing consistently, over the past 3 decades as we've been collecting this data. And that's true even during times of recession, like you saw in the 2001 recession and the 2008 recession. IT spending as a percent of revenue actually increased. So, it's not as you might expect that IT, becomes very, very cost constrained, although we know there's always cost pressures. But in fact, it's becoming a more and more important part of the business. So next slide, please. So I'll turn this over to Dave. Dave, we just came out with these numbers. Yesterday, I think we just updated this slide with the 2021. Why don't you talk a little bit about what we're seeing in terms of IT growth?
Yeah, so there's no trend here at all. This is just flat. And to a certain degree, that's true. Through all of the good times before the pandemic, we were seeing budget increases about 3% every year. But a 3% increase is not always equal. One of the things to look out for here is that 3% increase in 2020 was the planned increase before the pandemic hit. Some of those companies, about a third, our research shows, ended up having to change those plans through the year and cut their budgets. Many tried not to, because as Akshay and Anupam both pointed out, you don't want to cut IT spending right now because digital is so important, but some of them were forced to. So for 2021, that 3% for some companies is just catching up to what they did last year. The other thing to point out here, I think, is important is that from 2017 to 2020, inflation was really under control. It was usually only 1 or 2%. So those increases represented an increase over the inflation. Inflation's much higher in 2021. So we think there are going to be some companies that are facing some shortages. What looked like a healthy investment in IT at the beginning of the year may turn out not to be in the long run for 2021. And they may find themselves a little constrained. We also think that because inflation is starting to ramp up, I think we're going to see higher budget increases, particularly operational budget increases in the next couple of years to keep pace with inflation. So I think we're going to break out of this flat line of 3%, start seeing higher numbers in the next couple of years.
Hey, Dave, one more point we ought to bring up here. This number reflects what geographic coverage here?
Oh yes, so this is from our main IT spending staffing report, which is every company to qualify for being in this, you need to either be based in the U.S. and Canada, or you need to be a multinational company with operations in the U.S. and Canada.
We have now, under Avasant's investment in our research, we've been able to expand our coverage not only to the U.S. and Canada, North America, but to Europe as well. And we came out with a European edition of this spending study. But this sample here reflects the trends both in the U.S. and in Europe as well. So we're very proud to be able to now expand our coverage with this additional investment. So along with this, we're looking at what is, we've seen this 3% increase, and I would say that's the median for the composite sample, and that does vary by industry sector, with some sectors, as Anupam was pointing out earlier, investing even more than that number. But where are organizations investing? So one of the other things we track in our statistics is the spending priorities by IT initiative. And you see at the top are all the things that revolve around, really centered on digital transformation. Cloud applications, 79%, that's the net percentage, increasing their spending. Cloud infrastructure, which we know this has been a long-term trend. It's accelerating now through the pandemic. Data analytics and business intelligence, which we know is all tied in with customer experience and digital transformation. And digital transformation itself is right up there near the top. Now, the one that rose quite a bit in addition to these is business continuity, disaster recovery. And we know that has a lot to do with the stress that companies were under to ensure business continuity through the pandemic. So this is really good to see what this enterprise transformation is really encouraging this types of investment. We have one more slide. And this is reflected in the GDP numbers that just came out. As you can see, because of these enterprise transformation initiatives, investments in software and equipment are far exceeding the growth in GDP. So growth in software investment, equipment investment, greatly since fourth quarter of 2019 is GDP is just about bounced back to flat, but you can see that it's exceeding in these areas. And one of the other things we track within computer economics is IT technology trends. And you can see just one example, robotic process automation, which is tied in very heavily with digital transformation, has been on a very strong trajectory since 2019. And it took a big jump this past year into 2021. Now 20% of organizations have investments adoption already there. And the investment is accelerating as well. So very excited to have this data. We invite you to visit our website at avasant.com/research. A lot of free research there if you're not a client. Pick up these technology trends and you can learn along with us. Thanks very much.